Megavanan and welcome everyone to another in the interview series with Heroes and Mortals Radio. Today I have had the very rare privilege of doing an interview with an especially creative and gifted soul by the name of Alex Langenbach of Alex Sonics Music YouTube channel. This is the home of the Silmarillion soundtrack where you can hear cinematic and fantasy music. As many of you know, there is a wide variety of YouTube channels dedicated to Elven, Fae, and Tolkien-based music, much of it as original creations, and while I love them all, and do find comfort within them, there is something special about Alex. For the first time in a very long time, I found something different in his creations. Remembrance. His music and compositions are able to take me back, to bring to life the visions and memories of a time long ago, when elves truly walked this world, and when the days of the Silmarillion were still young and fresh upon the land. It is an ambitious endeavor to bring to life J.R. Tolkien's Silmarillion in a series of music albums, but Alex is also doing something else, helping to remind us of another time when magic could be felt more keenly in the land and the sea and the forests. It also gives us hope for its return. As Alex states of his own compositions, the music can be intense, melodic, epic, cinematic, and filled with every fiber of my soul. I take you on a journey into different realms. Middle-earth? Come and stay a while. This is the home of the Silmarillion soundtrack, aiming to create a full score for this epic work. I am creating content around epic cinematic music, mostly in the fantasy genre, and I do narrations, voiceovers, and audiobooks. I hope you'll consider supporting his work. He has, which you'll see the links for later. He's on Instagram and Twitter, and of course, Alex Sonics Music YouTube channel. So again, it is my great joy to introduce you to Alex Langenbach of Alex Sonics Music. If you would, I always like to let our listeners know a little bit about who we're interviewing. So if you don't mind, take a moment out and tell us a little bit about who you are.
I'm Alex. I'm 45. I'm a daddy. I'm a passionate, enthusiastic musician. I love sounds, actually. If I were to sum it up, I'm a sound addict. I love the sound of languages. I love the sound of music. I love the sound of music of languages and accents. So that is basically what made me create the channel Alex Sonics, and it's all in the name, the sonics, the sonic beauty of languages, of music, and I'm trying to put it all together. And Tolkien is has provided us with wonderful source material to do that.
Oh, absolutely. What is first of all, is this only you? Are you doing everything, or do you have support people or that type of thing?
For now, it's just me. I wish I had someone, to do. Thank you. I wish I had someone to do the mixing and the mastering, so all the technical work, so I could focus on solely the creative work. Then again, everything contributes to the kind of sound. So I actually love every single second of the process, putting all of this together. It's me. I do sometimes enlist the aid of other musicians, but actually it's only been once, and it's been my wife who sang the part of Luthien.
Really?
And Luthien.
Well, tell her it was beautiful, please. Wow.
Thank you. Yeah.
Oh, well, excellent, excellent. Okay, so what is your background in music and writing?
I've always been enthusiastic about music, but actually, I played the recorder as a little child.
Myself as well.
Or rather, I was made to play the
recorder. Myself as well.
Which isn't to say that I didn't partly enjoy it, but it wasn't really my instrument. It didn't give me the kind of possibilities that I was looking for. And, then as a, juvenile, I really loved music. I started playing the drums in a metal band. And then I just taught myself the guitar a bit, so that I could play songs. And I started to record songs back then. It was with a 4-track recorder, a cassette tape. Those were the days. And I actually did some kind of miniature orchestral work as well. But I was a diehard perfectionist, so I never really persevered beyond a certain point. I would always be all in. And then after a month, I kind of didn't have a workflow. So it all ran dry, and I just stopped doing that. And it was only 3 years ago. I mean, I then later went on to pick up music again. I studied music. I started playing the cello, which I now use a lot in my tracks. And I went on to study music and become a music teacher. So now I'm a secondary school teacher. I teach English and music. But the creative work, and I loved playing the cello, conducting orchestras and all of that. But I didn't really do any creative work. And that was the missing link. That was something that, from my childhood kind of went missing. And 2 to 3 years ago, I actually had an acting class that evening, but I somehow stumbled across, these orchestral virtual libraries where you can just simulate or emulate an orchestra. And I was totally in the zone. I downloaded sounds. I got a keyboard, a MIDI keyboard, and I played some orchestral stuff. And that was that evening I created the Nirnaeth Arnueria, the basic foundation for that. Still remember playing that horn. The first time I played this horn call, the magic in that, and just feeling these sounds. So that is basically,
well, that's a pretty heavy piece.
I reconnected.
Yeah, I listened to some of these pieces last night. That's a pretty heavy piece because it's such a passionate part of the story. Some of the dark things that happened during that tale, and you captured it well. Maybe I'll go ahead and put a little bit of that here in with. I'll splice it in with this as well. So that was really your first step into this genre?
Yes. The idea of the Silmarillion soundtrack was born actually, initially I wanted to do an audiobook. And so because I'm really into narrating stories, I love the sound of Tolkien's language. His English and his Quenya and all the other languages. I love each and every name. So I wanted to honor his work, but I couldn't obtain the rights. And the initial idea was to just record the narration and, just some melodies played on the cello, a motive here and there to just enhance the atmosphere. Because of the narrative structure and the perspective, it doesn't lend itself to some kind of underscoring, because there's so much music in the language already, and I wouldn't want to take away from the spoken word. But, here and there, a cello, a motive just thrown in. And that was the start, but I couldn't obtain the rights to do that from the Tolkien estate. So I kind of went on to start writing music for it, because that's something that I can do. So that was the first thing was the Nirnaeth Arnoediad, because I wanted to start with. I don't actually know why I chose that, but
that was actually my next question. So that's great. We're kind of going into this. If you will continue with that thought, because that is the question. What inspired you to do this type of music?
Firstly, I think when I listen, and I always listen when I'm reading, I'm always reading aloud. I love the sound of the language. I think I will keep saying that. So I always read the Silmarillion aloud because that's just a whole body experience. The reverberation of the sound of the language is so beautiful. And I always feel that there is music there. And the Silmarillion is so strong in its mood, in its atmosphere, in the dark, the doom, the impending doom that is always present. Everything seems to be bittersweet, and I have a taste for that. I love the tragic, the grandiose, the lovely grandeur, without being dull. I mean, the rich beauty, and I just had a mind to set that to music. I mean, I know the Lord of the Rings soundtrack, but this was written for Peter Jackson's vision of Middle-earth, and it's the Third Age. So the elves are a fleeting memory of their grand past, whereas in the Silmarillion, they're at the height of their power. There is this eternal struggle, the doom, and I wanted to capture that, the darkness, the heavy, doom-laden atmosphere. So that was just something that I was absolutely...
I can see that, and I really love how you just put it. If you could sum up in just a few words a Silmarillion, it would be bittersweet. Absolutely. A great way of putting it. Bittersweet. I mean, to me, the most beautiful love story of all was Beren and Luthien. And, boy, bittersweet. Absolutely correct.
Oh, yeah.
Wonderful. It's nice that your wife was able to be a part of all that. That's great. So that takes us in, because you've alluded to it a couple of times so far in the interview. Where and how did you, because your command is quite good. I was very impressed with listening to your tracks. Your command of the Quenya is quite good. Where and when did you, how did you learn and get into it? Because you're pronouncing it. So many people that get into it, they don't get the pronunciation correct, and hey, that's all cool, but you quite good. So how'd you get into it, and how'd you study?
I'd say I'm a lover of languages. So years ago, I started learning languages, and my way into languages is always the sound.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. One quick. Yeah. It's my mistake. Let me explain to the audience, for those that don't know. We're talking about the Elven languages that J.R.R. Tolkien wrote down, Sindarin and Quenya. And Tolkien, these are languages that Tolkien transcribed for us and put down. And so there are people all over the world that are studying these languages. And so the language of Alex's videos, for example, the Oath of Feanor, is completely in Elvish. It's beautifully done. So I'm sorry. Go ahead and get back to what you were saying.
No worries. Well, so yeah, I love languages, and like 5-6 years ago, I started learning languages. I mean, I've always been enthusiastic about English, which is a foreign language to me, and my way in is the sound. I love the kind of music that, when I hear people speak in a foreign language, I love the sound. And with Tolkien, it was also my way in, because when I was young and started reading The Lord of the Rings, I just couldn't get in. I couldn't get into the story because back then I wasn't ready for the kind of descriptive quality. It's extensive. And everything I now love was way over my head back then. But I noticed these names, each and every name, is so beautiful, even without any knowledge of, phonetics, which is the study of sounds of languages. I had no idea, but I still found them beautiful. And then later on, when I was studying English, I got into phonetics, which, is concerned with the sounds of languages and its connection to meaning. And I loved that. So Quenya, I'm actually more into Sindarin because I find it so beautiful. I mean, they're both beautiful. So I wanted to know, this person was very specific about how you pronounce this stuff. So I wanted to know. I didn't want to make something up. And I began studying it. I never studied the languages to a degree that I could speak them. So I know phrases and I have some vocabulary, but I know the pronunciation rules. And when I do videos, I try to really get the pronunciation to be in line with what Tolkien would have wanted, without being, let's say, pedantic about it.
Right. Yeah. Unfortunately, I am for myself, but I actually teach it. So I think it's important that I get pretty obsessive about the use of it. But that doesn't mean I judge others by not doing that. Just for myself, I like to be a little bit more obsessive about it because I agree. I find the languages absolutely beautiful. And Sindarin I find stunning. Quenya, again, is wonderfully beautiful, and that would be compared to like the Latin version of Elvish. That would be their Latin or noble version of it. And again, you've done a great job with how you've mastered even just the pronunciation. You've done a great job. And again, I love the passion that you're able to put into it because, yes, it can be a very dark story, and you are able to convey that in your videos. Now, do you do all the composition, the writing, even in the video itself? Do you do all of that as well? Do you do all the composition, writing, as well as the video graphics?
Yes, I don't paint. So for the Oath of Fëanor, I actually had Caprice, a Russian artist who's brilliant. If you don't know her art, do check it out. She has this dark style. It's very fitting. So I asked her, because I loved her art, can you do a painting for me? And that was the Oath of Fëanor. I had others. I had another.
Oh, so she did that.
Which was yeah, she did that. And but I do all aspects of the sound. So I compose the music, I mix it, I master it, which means I do the sound production to get it to a kind of radio quality, professional quality.
Sure.
And I compose the videos. So I try to narrate the story. I try to help narrate the story. In the case of the Oath of Fëanor, just providing subtitles for those who might be interested but don't know anything about Quenya. They can at least read along and kind of get what this is about, even though I think even without knowing, it delivers.
Well, that's a kind of a thing that people have often, you'll see it in the movies where they'll talk about the Elvish language. It's Samwise. I assume you know the stories well, right?
Yes, I do.
Okay, there's a point where Samwise is talking about, he hears the Elvish singing going, and he goes, well, I don't know the words, but I know what they're singing about. The images come to my mind. And you are correct. The passion and the emotions that you put into the videos, even if when you play, for example, again, the Oath of Fëanor.
Nai kotumo arnilmo, kalima vala, pausa arpoika, moringo thonna, elda armaya, arapannona, endores, atansin unnona, ilar tanje, ilar melme, ilar malkason samme. Even if you don't read, which thank you, by the way, it was wonderful for those who don't know the language when you
you put the subtitles in there so you can read along. But even if you ignore the subtitles, even if you don't know what the words are saying, you get the drift. You know exactly. This is a pretty heavy moment. This is not a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And thank you for this brilliant quote. Samwise, such a wise and maybe underrated character.
Well, he was the hero.
Yeah. Yes. I think we can agree on that.
Yes, absolutely. So I've seen on one of the things that you put on your YouTube channel, I guess almost like the subtitle is Home of the Silmarillion Soundtrack, correct?
Yes.
So I'm assuming what that means here, and looking over your videos, it looks like it is. This is an ongoing project where you're going to be doing different musical presentations for different parts of the story, correct?
Yes. I'm trying my most emphatic yes.
That's a big task.
Yes. This is my life quest. This is a passion project that is never going to, I'm going to do this forever. So the plan, I started wanting to do a soundtrack for the Silmarillion, originally a soundtrack to accompany an audiobook, but actually I found, no, I want to do narrative music. So retelling the stories through music, capturing all the passion, all the intensity, the doom, the grandeur, the beauty, the heartbreaking beauty. So this is a well-connected enterprise, I might say. So I have 12 to 13 tracks for the first album, which will be released this year.
Wonderful. Is this a self-release, self-publishing, or are you...
For now it is, but
great.
We will see.
Okay.
But I will.
Please keep us up at the radio station on that, because we would like to be involved.
I will. Yes, absolutely. I will. I'm planning to do lots and lots of albums because I choose moments of the Silmarillion that are dear to me, that I love so much, and I try to put them to music. So I find ways to make sense musically, to find an excerpt that I can tell as a story in musical terms. And all of it is well connected. So I'm not just writing this track and that track, but there are musical motifs that you will be able to rediscover, that you will actually become very familiar with. Sometimes just subtly hinted at, but, it's the Silmarillion. So, of course, there's a motif for the Silmarils. And this kind of crops up here and there. And is subtly hinted at. In the Oath of Fëanor, it's sometimes played backwards in the horns, and it's very subtle stuff. But I'm trying to build a legendarium here that is well connected, and that does justice to Tolkien's fabulous.
Wonderful. Yeah, because just for the listeners here, I'm looking over some of your soundtracks that you've done already. Idril and Tior, you've got The Fall of Fingolfin. That's some heavy stuff there. Gondolin de Fer, absolutely wonderful. I can tell you from my experience, I've never seen anyone attempt this project to this degree. I don't see it on there yet, but I assume one day it will probably be part of it. Are you going to be working with the very first part, the Ainulindale?
I'm actually being asked this very often. And my answer is...
Go ahead. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no. My answer is a very shy yes.
It's a big task.
Yes, of course. Exactly. So here's the thing. I needed some time to develop my skills, mostly the music production skills, but also, I'm currently redoing some of the songs that I've done in the initial stages.
Sure.
And I see, okay, there are some things that I've learned along the way. But as for the Ainulindale, this is very specific. So Tolkien's descriptions are very detailed.
Correct.
And I don't want to mess up. So this is the thing.
Well, you're singing about creation itself.
Yes, exactly. And the thing is, I'm for now focusing more on the Silmarillion proper and all the elven stories.
Gotcha.
The creation of the mythology is, quotation marks, it's not as important in a way, but the responsibility is great. I feel that I can't just, I have ideas now, but initially I didn't know how to tackle that. Now I know, and I think, this music needs to be somewhat unearthly and beyond, the limits of sky and earth. So these are my ideas.
What's the music of the Ainur, the angels?
Yeah. Yeah, and whatever that means. So for me, it means going beyond the orchestra, or just using the orchestra and synthetic sounds in a way to blend something that's celestial.
Well,
that's beyond.
Very well put. Well put. And I suspect your hesitation is the same reason that Peter Jackson probably has never done the Silmarillion. I know the subject's been brought up multiple times, and it's like, how do you do that? How do you take on such a task? So even the part that you have taken on, again, I agree with you, it can be a lifetime project. It's a pretty intense project you've taken on, a responsibility to try to take that passion and, again, the bittersweetness and put it into a musical track and do it justice. I mean, there's a lot of people out there that do songs about Beren and Luthien. There's a lot, and they're beautiful songs, don't get me wrong. They're beautiful songs. I think you're trying to take it to another level where you're trying to not just sing about Beren and Luthien. You're trying to help us feel what they felt.
Exactly. Yeah. And I know many very beautiful songs, and I try to make contact to other artists who write songs, write music about the Silmarillion. But exactly, for me, I'm an all-in guy. I love being fully immersed, and I think I'm talking to the right person right now.
Indeed. Indeed.
So I'm not going to be an 80% elf, I'm going to be all in.
You're right.
So for this, I want, when I'm writing about the Oath of Fëanor, I want everyone to be there, to be there, to actually witness Fëanor utter the dreadful words.
Right.
That's what I want. And Gondolin, I want to lead everyone through the Orfalch Echor and listen to the trumpets of Ecthelion, the trumpets of Turgon, and the fountains of Ecthelion. And that's basically it.
Well, that's my favorite city ever on earth. And I think you did it justice. You did a wonderful job.
Oh, thank you. And you might be pleased to know that the Gondolin is actually a part of is a 4-part mini-series. There are 4 songs written. One hasn't been published, and some of the older ones are going to be redone. I've just written The Fall of Gondolin. There will be tears.
Oh, that's going to be hard.
So all the beautiful motifs, the melodies from Gondolin the Fair, they're going to be destroyed. And it's been a great pleasure to write this, but also, wow, oh boy, I was in tears writing my own music. So, I'm very excited about Gondolin.
Well, this is wonderful because, like I said, I'm going to be doing a radio show on the, the 27th of March on the Silmarillion, in, again, celebration of Heroes and Mortals radio station's Hobbit Reading Day. And I plan on playing portions of your music throughout the hour, because one of the things that keeps so many people want to read the Silmarillion, but they don't want to because it's a hard book. It's a hard book. People have compared it to to the Bible. It's very difficult to read because Tolkien, like you, was 100% in. He didn't hold back the details there. The emotions run from so high to so low, and there's so much bittersweet beauty in it. And your music is a wonderful way to introduce people to the book and maybe it will encourage and inspire more people to get into it. I hope so.
Wow, I've never actually thought about it in this way. If I may, I can offer an easy way in, because for me, all this talk about it being so difficult, it was never really relevant, because for me, something is either beautiful or it's not.
Indeed.
And Silmarillion was so beautiful that I didn't expect myself to, I didn't have any expectations, to understand everything, as in know who's related to whom, all the names. By the way, you may be interested to know that I do not have musical motifs. That means melodies for every single person in the Silmarillion. No. General, motifs like the Noldor, the Doom of the Noldor,
sure.
the Silmarils, and Gondolin, and things like that. But just to say, for me, I always tell people, just start and enjoy the beauty.
I
take
agree.
What you can take in the first, I keep rereading the Silmarillion, and I keep, it's getting deeper and deeper. It's like I'm reading the Silmarillion, then I go back to the Lord of the Rings, and I find all these, the backstory is so rich, and whenever they're hinting at it, Aragorn telling them of Gondolin or of Beren and Luthien, I'm going, oh yes, wow, wonderful, and you feel the echo of the past. Or when Elrond, one of my favorite chapters from the Lord of the Rings is Elrond's council. And, I remember well the glory of the banners, and when he harkens back to the elder days, wow, I'm enchanted. And, in the Lord of the Rings, some of the language already hints at what you can expect in the Silmarillion. Like when the elves speak, they speak in that way in the Silmarillion, and many people love that. So that was my way in, just the beauty. And now I kind of know the genealogy, so who is who and who's related to who, not perfectly well still, but yeah.
Okay. Well said. For myself, I've never found the book difficult. It's always rang true with my heart, but I can see both sides, and well said. I loved how you put it. So that people get a more of a well-rounded idea of who Alex is. What other types of music have you worked with that you enjoy? I know you mentioned cello, orchestral. What other types of music do you like to work with?
Well, as I said, I used to be a heavy metal drummer, so
that's true.
I was all heavy metal. So,
right.
Yes, I was an angry teenager, and I was a rebel. I still am to a degree. So it's very interesting to know that I did some very different music from what I'm doing now. But still, of course, I love orchestral music and classical music because of the sheer scope of possibilities, of the range of emotions. I mean, I can still be angry. And in all of Gondolin, yes, there are Balrogs and there are orcs and orc armies, and they're very dirty and they're very dark, and all of that can be done. So I'm, interestingly enough, even though my music, I would say it's cinematic music, so basically what you could put in a movie, but my inspiration is not so much the classical film composers, but actually in classical music. So I love Dvorak, Brahms, Wagner, Berlioz, and of course Ravel, Tchaikovsky. These are my heroes.
Well, I can see some of your inspiration for your passion then, because those are very passionate composers as well.
Exactly. You can see a pattern there. I mean, I do love Baroque and classical composers, but I'm at heart, I'm a romance, I'm a romantic era guy. And I love the intensity, the deep emotion and if we're talking about Brahms, and if people know about Brahms, for me, he's always, beautiful, but with a somber touch.
Yes.
And there's always a slight tear in my eye, despite the beauty. And this is, for example, what I'm trying for in Gondolin the Fair, a beautiful melody, but something that's so heartbreakingly beautiful that you miss it the moment you see it. You're afraid. Maybe one day I won't see it anymore. This is the kind of emotion, and I got that from these brilliant composers. And other than that, I mean, I love good pop music. I love Jacob Collier, for example, who's a brilliant composer, absolutely outstanding. So I don't like to narrow it down too much. I mean, this is my passion music, but I would say that I can make sense of most music that there is out there.
Okay. Well, you are definitely in touch with your Elvish side. No doubt about it. Okay, so one of and maybe this is your future projects, but are there any other future projects, or is the Silmarillion soundtrack, that's pretty much, that's going to be your time?
Well, it's my major passion project. I'm also writing children's songs. So it's something completely different, because my daughter's soon gonna, she's almost 2 now. And, when she was very little, I used to sing so many songs to her, like the burping song and the farting song and this song. And all of these, they're called Badoomba and Hoochie Poochie and whatever. So it's mostly that kind of scatting. And
are you going to be publishing those?
I will one day.
Wonderful.
For now, I'm very hard pressed by, I'm trying to make do, because I'm mostly at the moment a full-time dad, part-time teacher, and the rest I just go all in composing. I'm not watching football matches anymore and stuff. I'm really sacrificing everything else for that, and it's mostly the Silmarillion. Yes.
Okay, so did I hear you correct that you said that the first album is done, is ready, or is about?
About. So it's thing is that I have started publishing songs way too soon, in a way. I don't regret it, but some of the early songs that I put out there are not quite up to standard in terms of the sonic quality. So you can definitely hear a difference, just in the professional sound standard. And also, I've become better in orchestration and stuff like that. So, I'm going to write one more new song. And then I'm currently redoing some of the old songs. I'm just in the process of redoing the Silmarillion of Fëanor, which is basically the headpiece of the soundtrack, because it introduces everything. And I'm getting it up to standard. But I have 12 songs, and maybe a surprise song that that I'm now polishing. And then it's going to be published on September the 2nd, 2022.
Okay. So wonderful. I look forward to it.
Oh, great. Yeah. We'd love to have you there.
Absolutely. What have you overall, and because I don't know how you've been reaching out. To be honest, I'm not sure how Mark found you, though I'm glad he did. Mark is one of the owners of Heroes and Mortals Radio, and I'm glad he did find you. So what's the outreach been like? How have you been able to gauge people's response to your work so far?
Well, this was truly difficult, because initially I had no idea about marketing. And let's be honest, if you don't, you're never going to make it. So it's not enough to write good music. You need to find those people who are going to be passionate about it.
Well, that's so true. When I first became a writer a very long time ago, they said that being a writer, and it's quite the same for music, any artist, it says it's 10% skill and 90% business, marketing and such. So,
and you found this to be true?
Oh, very, very much so. Mm-hmm. It's, you'd like to sit there and go, I'm so wonderful that people will just come to me.
Yeah, exactly. My work is magnetic.
But you know what? There's a whole lot of magnificent people out there, and there's so much, it's almost a noise now. There's so much I know YouTube must have helped you some, because I think you have over, what is it, about 2,000 followers or something like that, subscribers?
Yes. So it's been I've learned a lot. Let's put it like that. I've taken on, I've done courses on marketing, social media managing, and I'm still actually struggling with that because I enjoy writing the music so much.
Of course.
But I understand what I need to do. So I actually try to understand. So I don't want to put my music just out there. I want to find those people who are kind of like soulmates, who will understand the kind of passion, who resonate
Indeed.
on that frequency. And I know it doesn't even matter how many, but I know there are those people. And what kind of community could we be? So that is basically my look at that. So I try to reach out on those people who are either passionate about Tolkien and particularly about, the languages or the Silmarillion, and about people who love very intense, grand, dark fantasy music. So this has been my branding: fantasy music, Silmarillion, Middle Earth. And I've tried to reach out. I've used Reddit a lot. There's a brilliant Silmarillion board. I don't know if I can say that here, but I've tried to find forums where people talk about the Silmarillion, and I've said, "Hey guys, this is my passion project. I would be happy to have you on board." I've also done, advertisements on YouTube. So my videos would play before other videos where people talk about Tolkien, because I figured that might do the job. I've tried a lot of things. And
what's your response been so far? Have people responded favorably to your type of music?
Yes, absolutely. Incidentally, thing is, there have always been extremely positive responses. So those who do bother to write a comment have been absolutely ecstatic.
Wonderful.
Mostly. Particularly things like the Oath of Fëanor. There are so many people who are writing things like, "Oh wow, this is absolutely the way I always thought it." It's like I'm there. And when I'm reading this, I'm actually in tears, because it's I put a lot in there to just make people feel that. But I also realized that running a YouTube channel with just music is not going to work. So I started trying to, talk about things that are Tolkien related, but more popular. Like I tried to make a few videos about the Rings of Power, but actually I found, I'm not ready for the controversy. I'm not ready for the kind of attitude that people have. So I don't know about whether or not I'm going to continue. But just to gauge the response, most of my music videos have a 99% like to dislike ratio. So most people who bother reacting love it.
I can see that.
When I talk about stuff like The Rings of Power by Amazon,
well, that was my next question, actually. We definitely do not have the time to go into detail about that. I did see that you posted some things on there. I totally get where you're coming from. And so I guess really pretty much my last question for the interview would be, because I see that you have a passion and you're expressing it about, the upcoming Amazon Lord of the Rings show, and you have your own strong feelings about it, and those feelings are quite shared by many, 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 many people out there. That brings me to my question would be, what does Tolkien, and we can wrap it up this way, what does J.R.R. Tolkien mean to you? How has he affected your life? Because obviously it's something on a very deep core level.
Oh gosh, this is, makes me cry in a way. It's,
I understand.
There are few people like Tolkien, and the others are people like Shakespeare and other brilliant authors.
Right.
I'm really drawn in by people who have a sense for putting the right words at the right time with the right weight. He has deeply enriched my life. For me, there is a world there that I can always, I wouldn't even say withdraw, but I can find shelter in. And it might seem strange that this very dark and brutal world is so fascinating, but there is also a strong sense of hope and beauty and nobility. And for me, the stories, the richness, the values, there is so much in the stories that make me feel, that give me that deep feeling. Right. Not just a simple entertainment, but on a very profound level, body and soul, I might say. And
all right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you taking the time. By the way, I completely empathize with your feelings about Tolkien. I feel quite the same way, and I know that there are millions of people around the world who do. So I have a very strong suspicion that your music and compositions are going to be highly well received. I look forward to if you're able to do it, look forward to your September debut with your album. And I know that'll be only the first of many, because the Silmarillion is definitely a lifetime project. I've enjoyed this interview very much with you, Alex. I appreciate you taking the time. And for any of our listeners, please check out Heroes and Mortals Radio. You'll be able to find all the links to Alex's work, his Twitter and a YouTube channel. You'll be able to find an Instagram, correct? Instagram as well.
Yes, I also have a Bandcamp account. And
oh, wonderful.
I'll just give you all the links.
Okay, that would be great. So again, thank you so much for this. It was wonderful for me to be a part of this, and you're the reason I accepted this interview to do this. And thank you again for all that you're contributing to this genre. The world needs your type of passion, and we appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. And I'm a bit at a loss because you make me cry.
Wow.
Thank you for your kindness, and I just love your spirit, your wonderful passion. Thank you. I feel we are resonating on a very, very wonderful frequency together.
Thank you. I feel the same way.